All right, you guys, so welcome back to Factoring Cubic Functions. All right, so now this particular day is going to be focused on a particular pattern, okay? And I have the two patterns written down. If you have a sum of cubes, so sum meaning plus, so if you have a cubed plus b cubed, this is going to be your pattern. And then if you have a difference of cubes, so a to the third minus b to the third, this is going to be your pattern. Okay, so it's just all about identifying what A equals and what B equals and then replacing it in the pattern correctly. All right, so what do I mean by that? So let's look at our first example. So I have u to the third minus 1. Okay, now 1 is not my favorite one to start with because I don't think people see it as easily. But think about the fact that 1, okay, I could rewrite it as u to the third minus 1 to the third. Okay, so that is the same thing. And it's because remember 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. So that's why it's 1 to the third. Okay. All right. So then what I tell my students is that, okay, the first term, that is your A to the third in the pattern, minus, and then the second term, that is your B to the third. Okay. All right. And now we have to figure out what A equals. So not A to the third, but actual A. What am I multiplying 3 times to get this value here? Well, I'm multiplying U. So that means A equals U, okay? Because then subsequently A to the third power would equal U to the third power. And then B in this case is 1. So B equals 1. Okay, and I'll do another example, okay, because this is the part right here that most students get stuck on. They don't have any problems with this, okay? It's this first step. And once we get past this first step, you're fine, okay? All right, so now I have to use the right formula, okay? So since this was a cubed plus b cubed, all right, so I don't use that one. I go over here, and I'm using a to the third minus b cubed. Well, that equals, okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to replace, okay, so let me just recopy it, a to the third minus b to the third. So a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. All right, well, we've decided that a is u. So everywhere I see an a, I'm going to put a u. Okay, and I can even put it here. Okay, everywhere I see a b, I'm going to put 1. All right, and now I need to go back in and fill in all this information. So this is u cubed minus 1 to the third. All right, u minus 1, u squared plus 1 times u plus 1 squared. All right, and I just need to clean that up a little bit. And what do I mean by clean that up? U minus 1, u squared plus, well, 1 times u is u, and 1 squared is 1. Okay, so that is this factored. Okay, so it factors to u minus 1, parentheses, u squared plus u plus 1. Okay, so factor it completely. All right, so parentheses, u minus 1, parentheses, u squared minus, or I'm sorry, plus u plus 1. Okay, all right, I'm going to submit my answer. And there we go. Okay. Now, if you look right here, see Delta Math, he talks about taking the cube root of something. Okay. And that is an alternate approach that we can do. But we really haven't talked about how to take the cube root of something. Okay. So we got to figure out different ways to do it. Okay. All right. So let's look at another one. All right. I don't want one with the variable up front just yet. I'm going to skip through here. I don't want a 1. Don't want that one. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's look at another example. So d to the third minus 8. Okay. All right, so d to the third minus 8. All right, so I got to figure out what a and b are. So I know here that this is where my a is located, and this is where my b is. Okay. Well, when it's d to the third, that's really easy. Okay. So I know that a equals d. Okay. All right, but what about b? Okay. Well, I got to think of a number that when I raise it to the third power, I'll get 8. Okay. And I know that that's 2. 2 to the third power is 8. So I know that b equals 2. Okay. All right. So now let me write down the formula again. So a to the third, I'm going to use the minus 1, minus b to the third. So it's a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay, so now rather than how I did it the last time, let's go through it in a logical process. Okay, so it tells me to factor that in my first term, I take a minus b. Well, that's d minus 2. Okay, then it tells me to take whatever I've decided is a and square it. So d is d squared. Okay, plus. Then I take my values for a and b and I multiply them. So d times 2 or 2d. Plus. Then I take my b value and I square it. So 2 squared is 4. And there's my answer. Okay, so parentheses, d minus 2, and then d squared plus 2d plus 4. Submit my answer, and there's my green check. All right, let's look at a new problem. Okay, again, I don't like 1, so I'm going to skip. There we go. All right. All right, so I've got t to the third minus 64x to the third. All right, so I got a couple things going on here, but it's not bad. All right, so this is t to the third. Okay, now when I see 64, again, my mind's already going, okay, what number can I multiply, okay, 3 times? Okay, so it's got to be like 2 times 2 times 2, or 3 times 3 times 3, or 4 times 4 times 4. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, Ms. Barfield, I don't want to do this every time. Okay, so you're going to bring up Desmos. Okay, I'm just going to go into the scientific calculator. Okay, so see this button right here that says nth root? So you're going to click that, and you're going to put 3, and then you're going to type in 64. Okay, and there's your answer right there of 4. All right, so this is 4 to the third, x to the third. Okay, now you got to follow me. So 4 to the third, x to the third, I could rewrite that as 4x to the third. This is why your exponent rules from Math 1 and Math 2 are so important, so that way you can reverse some of the things that have happened, okay? So I reversed this process of my exponent rule, okay? All right, because now I know that this is my A and this is my B, okay? And what do I mean by that? I know that A is T, all right? And then I know that B is 4x, okay? Because it's got to be the number and the variable, because this has got a combination of a number and a variable, okay? All right, so you can keep writing the formula. I highly recommend that as practice, but I have the cannot talk. I have the formula memorized. All right, so I know that in the first set of parentheses, because this is a minus, I need to get a plus up here as the next example. I need to subtract a minus b. So t minus 4x. T minus 4x. Okay, let me switch back over here to delta math. All right, then I take my a term and I square it. So t squared plus, then I take these two and I multiply them together. So I have t times 4x. Okay, well, alphabetically, that is 4tx. All right, then plus, now I take 4x and I square it. But now you have to think about that, and I'll write this in a different color. 4x squared. So that means I have to square the 4 and the x. 16x squared. So 16x squared. All right, so t minus 4x parentheses, t squared plus 4tx plus 16x squared. Parentheses. Submit my answer. Yes, and there we go. Okay. All right. Let me do one more problem. I don't like it when the videos get this long. Okay, good. Then we have a plus sign. Okay. All right. So I can make that fit in this little space I have right here. Okay. So 125 s to the third plus 27. Okay, so what's going on in my mind is how do I switch 125 and 27 to have a power of 3? Okay, so 125 is 5 to the third, s to the third. All right, and then 27 is 3 to the third. Okay, well that means this one is 5s to the third plus 3 to the third. Okay, I trust me when I say I know this will be the hardest part. Okay, all right, so that means A equals 5s and B equals 3. Okay, all right, so now I have a plus sign. So that means in my first parentheses, I add up A plus B. So I have 5s plus 3. All right, and then in the next parentheses, okay, and I'm just over here, if I scroll back down, I'm just plugging it into this right here. Okay, now I take A and I square it. So I take 5s and I square it. Okay, so remember, if you need that reminder, 5s and I square it. So that means I have to square the 5 and the s. So 25s squared. Okay, then the formula says minus. Multiply these together. So 5s times 3, 15s. Plus, take your b term and square it. 3 squared, 9. Okay, so now I'm going to type that in. So parentheses 5s plus 3. Okay, and then 25s squared minus 15s plus 9. Okay, submit my answer. Yes, and there we go. All right, I'll come back in another video and we'll keep practicing this, but yes, we're going to add a tiny step. All right, good luck.